it took me a lot of time and effort to actually do it. And the hair, holy heck, the hair is actually really hard to make too. But again, it really hurts me a lot. In some sense. My pride, my everything. It's like, because like, I know the work I do is not that great. So he did not just accuse me of theft. He accused me of being a very shitty thief. I'm a very shitty thief that steals shitty art. Yeah, and then finally, like, my day of a class, he low-key do not announce my name and keep scolding a thief in the entire like studies. And then, you know what? I'm a streamer too. I stream my work, documenting it every single time when I do any artwork. So I show him my stream. He completely shut up. He just said, "Oh, alright." Didn't even say sorry. Hello everyone, this is Kiray, and I'm your host and your voice here to entertain you, and they may not come here to shit about the AAA industries. Oh, not just the AAA industry. Quite a lot of game industry nowadays is like doing a very bad job at what they are doing. Why? I have no idea. Actually, I have some ideas. It's just, here's the thing. I'm 30 years old, so yeah, I play a lot of games in my life. Almost in all this 30-year age, you can kind of like list a somewhat ordinary game. I played it. Borderlands, I played it. StarCraft, I played it. Age of Empires, I played it. Stalkers, I played it. Like various different kind of games, even RPG games like Fairy Fences or Final Fantasy. A lot more kinds of games. Luxor, Zuma, Puyo Puyo, Tetris, obviously. I play lots of games, just going to say this. The sheer amount of game I play can be more than an average gamer in some sense nowadays. Because games nowadays are really not that affordable. It's really unaffordable these days, especially like $80. Like, holy heck, it's like in Malaysia ringgit it's like times 4.6. I think it's like times 4.6 or 7. So like it's really expensive. It's like 2 months worth of like your I think more than 2 months worth of your like available like spending taking out from your salaries. It's really that expensive nowadays. And yeah, the luxury is like slowly like dying down. Even nowadays, I'm still playing the older games that I own, not exactly like any other games that now, even now, like for me, my quote unquote nowadays games is just like the games that have been like 5 years old and then get like extreme discount and then I got it from that. Or it's just a very affordable indie game. Yeah, just those. And the few AAA games that I bought regret a lot. One of it is actually Destiny. I have a lot of fun, but also at the same time, I felt the disconnections between the developers and the business department the entire studio have. Because I also play Borderlands. Like Borderlands at least have like DLC, nice DLC, and like even like they have like free content, like seasonal, this and that, yeah, that stuff. Yeah, why I am like comparing like Destiny with Borderlands, because they kind of are same. Yes, the gameplay style and the way they try to interact like in the MMO side is a little bit different, but true and true is like different Pokemon game only. You know, like it's like a different version with a new skins, with a little bit like different variations. They add a few like difference of mechanics. It's like you're comparing like black and white and like emerald and sapphire, like the things that can like add in there, the difference in between, stuff like those. So, why am I talking about that? Well, Destiny has been like a rough ride. I enjoyed the game immensely. I went into a Singapore guild. I think it's like within the top 3 around the time when the Destiny 2 launched. And I'm kind of like not exactly the founding member. It's like I was tagged along with the founding member, so I'm like the lowest rank of the founding member. But yeah, I play as the Titans, and then we all like have lots of fun, especially like on the first raid back in the days. I still remember the part that like there's one guy keeps saying Chalice, Chalice, what the heck is Chalice? And then it's like that cup thing, just call it a cup. Stop being fancy! Like those kind of things. Man. And then like anyone who like aggro the doggo, and then we would just like we would just like play like blissful ignorance. Who did that? Who aggroed the dog? Those kind of stuff. Yeah, like I say, like I have lots of fun. But having lots of fun doesn't mean that you don't have the ability to like criticize the game or think the game, like some certain part of the games is actually really weird and then felt weird from the design decisions or like the way they try to do their business. Like you already since Destiny 2 has been out for quite a while, if you know, you know it. If you don't know, you don't know it. TLDR, first season pass sucks. Story sucks. Everything's awkward. The things that they give you is also like lack of content. Like the amount of money you pay for it and the amount of stuff you receive, and then they slowly low-key swap things out and replace lots of things is to make it like like artificially like increase the value of item, this and that, other stuff is jarring. Like some of the weapon definitely is a little bit fun, but there's like also like a lot of bug, all those kind of things like happening in there. A lot of like issues that never really addressed, like the PvP side of the game, this and that, other stuff. Like I'm not really a PvP person, but yeah, like then never really fixed the PvP. Makes me look at Marathon and I'd be like, you guys want to make a PvP? Like, fix your Destiny 2 PvP in the first place before you decide to go for Marathon. You don't have the skill for making PvP. You never made it functioning in the first place. And you're trying to make a PvP game. Man. Like, I know like there's a lot of extraction game exist, like Tarkov, or like, The Cycle, too bad it's gone. Like, a lot of different type of extraction game exist, like Call of Duty ones, this and that, other stuff. I do like the concept, actually, but I don't like the PvP side. Because, like, if you play PvP game, it's just, like, team versus team, or one-on-one, those kind of stuff. I'm kind of fine with it. But, extraction game on PvP, I always felt like I'm getting robbed. I don't know why. I just always felt like I'm getting robbed. And then that feeling is not a very good feeling. And that also, like, feeling is mutual between Destiny 2 to me too. Because, again, I bought the first season pass. I feel getting robbed too. You guys already know, like, they archived the stories. Those kind of stuff. But around the time, like, Bungie didn't really do a good job on first season pass. Either. They were so ashamed of it, they literally archived, like, the first season pass stuff. Really. Like, the Forsaken stuff is still kind of like there. But the first season stuff, they literally are trying their best to delete everything to the point that even people are suing them. They do not have the data for it. Like, they literally delete everything about the season 1, like the first year season pass. And when Forsaken came out, a lot of people say like, hey, they redeemed themselves! And then I'd be like, I felt robbed by the first year, so I'm not going to touch it, even no matter how good it is, unless, like, Destiny decided to compensate me. But as time goes, I didn't touch, like, I kind of, like, slowly, like, left, like, the Destiny 2 scene, and I slowly, like, listened to the news, this and that, stuff. Hey, they really aren't trying to coming back, but slowly I also, like, felt like some very big disconnections, especially when it comes to, like, the business model they have. That's like, even when I play, I already felt like there's a big disconnections between the business model and then the game itself. And when they start archiving, like, the content just just for some very lame reasons, and then I'll be like, but people pay for it though. It's weird. Like those kind of things, like they made it like promise for some things, and then they fail. They fail everyone's expectations, and then now they try to like shove it into like some dusty corner, so nobody know their failures, stuff like that. It's weird. And as time even like keep progressing, like the infamous DLC within DLC within DLC style kind of like business model starting to like creep into the game and stuff. Like I say again, I enjoy the game doesn't mean like I don't have like license to criticize like the business model and everything. The game itself, I would say the gun feeling, the gunplay, those kind of things, is actually really satisfying. But the problem is really, I feel like there's like very big disconnection between everything. It's like, you see a very beautiful restaurant, you enjoy the food, but you kind of like got the feelings that everyone inside the kitchens is actually having war, like political war, and doing some sort of like Game of Thrones style things is like happening inside the kitchens, and then and the managers is actually the heir of like some sort of like restaurant conglomerate, so like he's like getting taken down by some things, or like they're trying to prevent shit happening of getting sabotaged by their enemies. Like this kind of like there's a lot of things like happening behind the scene while the restaurant is like just operating normally. You kind of get that feelings. Things kind of like that. It's a very weird analogy, but it is like things like that. And I am not wrong. And then later on, more and more like drama and shit shows that has been peeled out from the public, like how the CEO is like very like tone deaf, and how like the business model is like this and that and stuff. How they were actually hired to become a live service managers, and then they are very terrible at their own live service stuff in the first place. The glaze they have like on them, and the action they did is really does not match up with like everything they do, you know. So it's a I have so much thing I want to talk about, but just watch this, I guess. I haven't watched it yet, so let's watch it together.
Everything is going wrong for Marathon right now. There is a lot we're going to learn in this video, far more than just the art plagiarism stuff. But what if I told you? Because we live in a world where it's very easy for people to just say, stupid devs, don't know nothing, don't care about the players. What if I told you that lots of developers inside Bungie had been advocating for Marathon to have substantial PvE elements, but
yeah, like, they can do their own thing. They are experienced enough to do their own thing. I do felt like there's some sort of like restriction that don't let them do their own thing though.
That they were not listened to. Maybe that is the biggest point of this video. It's what happens when an organization basically goes to shit. Now, I'm going to start with two.
It's like Conquered. Just another hero shooters. And for this one, it's like just another extraction game. Like, there's nothing. Look at it, it's like, it doesn't have like their own spin on it. There's no Bungie DNA in there. It's basically just Bungie mechanic in a extraction game. When I say mechanic, I mean like the gunplay feels, those kind of stuff, like inside a game. Inside a type of game. There's no like special things that going on there. There's no like special spin like how they're going to do this and that other stuff. It's just a random extraction game out of nowhere. And then they spend a shit tons of money on it.
Two quotes. The first one, morale is in free fall across all departments. The second quote, the vibes have never been worse. Those are what sources telling Paul Tassi say the plagiarism at Bungie has basically left in the vibes of the studio. People are not happy. Now this report
mean these things. Everyone knows. Either everyone knows or like everyone in the design department knows. They already know that thing. And then they even have like defense like immediately crop up when they got accused. Means like they already have experienced that. Oh, when what happened if the person know? Oh, we have the defense like already like on immediately. Means like they really are aware of this kind of stuff. I'm not sure why they do that. Like, this is why I don't really want to take art as a business, because like sometimes this kind of shit happens. It's like, I can see the circumstances of, it's like Mick Gordon doing the music. Like, just let the man master his craft. And when like Bethesda decided to replace him, they used like hundreds of like musicians to replace all his work. It's like, back in the days, like all Doom is just like made by one, like the music is made by one person's, and then he did a great job. Now you use 100 like musicians to like replace Mick Gordon. Like, that guy is like hundreds of people worth, A good artist can do a lot of things, but the problem is like, when you have to master your own craft, design this and that, other stuff, you have a very different mentality compared to a production mentality. So when you start working art as a production means, you would have a very different mindset and way to approach stuff. So an artist and a working artist really function very differently. This is why there's still so many artists is actually like living like commission by commission base, because they want the freedoms. And there's also like the freelancers, they technically still are a production artist. They still have lots of restrictions. They have to pop things out at moment notice, like those kind of things. It's a very different thing. It's like, the stolen art things definitely is come out from it's either laziness or a very self-aware, just because they are in the environment of being a production artist. They just like long enough to a point they basically forgot and just don't care anymore. Just that. Definitely there are some people who cares. This is why like the morale is low and everything. Everyone is having infighting. The higher up, the seniors, the juniors, the rookies that just got in with like dreams to become the greatest artists in the world, and then look at how the productions actually functions is like really like outside their wildest dream. They thought like art should be like, this and that other stuff, and then they look at how structural everything works, and then they'd be like, there is zero freedom in there. It's like a freaking jail instead of like a place for doing design and art. If some people think like I don't know what I'm talking about, I did come out from an engineer, mechatronic engineer, but also a 3D animated background. So when you just being a cog in the cog of the wheel in the production line, those kind of situations, like especially when it comes to animations, you definitely have a lot more of those kind of situations happens, rather than you trying to be like your own, your own boss. You really lack the autonomy of just being an artist, but you do have autonomy to be a good employee.
Reporting follows, of course, in the wake of the truly uncomfortable stream that saw leadership in the game, well, pilloried by the internet as they tried to defend their response to the plagiarism and, of course, the criticism of the game itself. But the sources do suggest...
Look at how tired his face is. I'm blocking the way. Hold on. Look at how tired his face is. Like, if you guys didn't look at the stream, that they made like a stream statement of things that entire time he just sat there and looked down. It's like he already been beaten a long time ago, and then this allegation ain't helping. Not allegation, it is they are stealing. There's no allegations. It's flat out they are stealing shit. And it's not once, it's not twice, it's many times they've been caught. Either this guy don't really have a very good capability of understand his own workers, or like they really have this very, very bad like productions pipeline or like have this like very bad production pipeline, or a like SOP, like standard operation style of the things they have to do, that makes such a mess. Basically, the entire SOP of like the organizing of the entire company, the inside, is a complete mess. The disconnection between the higher up, the seniors, the juniors, and different department all together is in disarray. Maybe even before like Marathon was made.
Of the game itself, but the sources do suggest that the problems with Marathon run far deeper than any one individual. Plans have been ruined, feedback is actually worse than many people thought, and if I was a betting man, I think I would put my money in this game being delayed. There's another fun thing going on. Vercel's V0 and every no-code tool on Earth have empowered a whole generation of vibe coders. I'm sure you've heard the word. My editors are now making internal tools for our team that previously I need an engineer for. That's awesome, but there's a dragon. It's called Backend, and my sponsor Boot.dev exists to help you slay that dragon. And I'm not even being cheesy. Boot.dev is all themed.
I do want to learn how to make a game, but I'm more of a game designer rather than like mechanic designers rather than a programmer. I can design a concept of a game, like how the gameplay should works, but I could not have the ability to make it happen. Like, if you guys didn't know, I did talk about this one time, that I have like this horror game ideas that I want to make, but I don't have any programming like knowledge, so it's become like impossible dream for me to have it. Let's just skip this part. It's Boot.dev. Not sponsored by me, but it's sponsored them. If you do appreciate what they do, maybe you guys want to learn some like programming. You can go to this place.
Their news gets you 25% off your first purchase. So buy the yearly plan for the largest saving, and if you don't gel with it, don't worry, because there's a no-risk 30-day money-back guarantee. Bungie was supposed to run a stream on May 9th with Marathon game director Joe Ziegler discussing the reaction to the closed alpha. It was then delayed until May 16th, and
from discussing the reaction between the alpha test to discussing that, sorry, we got caught. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This, yes. My hand. Okay, I'm sorry.
that delay, well, it really did cue things up in terms of the news cycle. It was very costly. You see, the plagiarism allegations and confirmations happened before that stream, and that meant it was an open question as to whether the stream would even happen. But no, it did happen, and it probably shouldn't have. The stream opened with Ziegler and art director Joseph Cross explaining that they had...
Worst thing is, I really love that color of green. It's my favorite color. Technically my second favorite color, but it is my favorite color. My first favorite color is red, but yeah. It's still my second favorite color, okay?
Had intended to show a lot more new stuff about Marathon. It seems that they had plans to highlight changes based on alpha feedback, but they, of course, in this stream, showed absolutely no gameplay for the full hour. They couldn't until the plagiarized assets had been reviewed and stripped out of the game. And of course, the big worry is, the more that they show, the more that people could scrutinize. Cross opened by reading from a statement, and this is what it basically said. This was plagiarism by one artist.
The worst thing is, like, 90% of stuff like they stole is in there, plastering on the game. They can't show anything.
Who worked on pre-production in 2020, it was then placed on a
Is that bad enough that even they show legit work, people will still think it's stolen? One bad move and actions makes people forever think you are a art stealer. And I really hate the fact, because like that's like one time when I studied like 3D animations back in the days, I just started learning how to use Maya, and then my lectures gave us like a project within a week, create a sand pit, make anything on it. I create a chibi model of Kana, like burying someone in the burying like technically Kiray in the sand. I watched so much tutorial and try so hard to make it happen. And why I do that is because I have I announced a rivalry challenge with a friend of mine. Like, I tell her like between she and I, which one can make like the most like awesome stuff in there, and then like we tried our best. She made a Gundam. She get praised a lot, even though like technically she used a lot of like illegal technique for like 3D animating, like Boolean and stuff, like this and that, to make a lot of things happen. Basically she made a lot of things like piece by piece and then just like slap them onto it. It's like you know, that it's like going in between different like body part, this and that other stuff. But it's still overall like you see a Gundam model there, and it's awesome. And for me, because I went to look at how to make it like, you know, a polygonic chibi model, and then I just make it like in higher resolutions. I basically just like soften it up, make like the polygon look much more like tube-like, this and that other stuff, make them more like organic, soft looking. But the problem is, because the class have like lots of people, I was in the third class. Basically, the same group of people, we got broke up into 3 different times because there's too many people taking this course. So there's like the same teachers will teach this amount of people because we only have like that many computers. So we end up like break up to like three different time class. There's group A, group B, group C. My friend is on group A. And no, my friend is on group B. Wait, no, group A. And I got another friend that is not having competition with in group B. Wait, no, they're both in group B. Group A is different. I have a different friend on group A. So my time, like group C, is on Friday, and we have to hand it in like on Monday. Like after like a week roll, like we must handle it like before Monday actually. And like there's like one in Monday class, one in Wednesday class. I'm on the Friday class, and my friends from like the Wednesday class called me, and she told me like, "What have you done? The lecturer is calling you a thief." I'm like, "What the fuck?" Being called a thief once, you're always being viewed as thief. You know why? Because everyone gave me a weird eye afterward, no matter what happened. Worst thing is the lectures never clarify the claim of me being a thief. I don't know why he had that ideas, but on the group A, he decided to tell everyone I'm a thief. The things I do, like the chibi model I made, like, is stolen, or like I asked someone else to do it for me. Like it's basically like a stolen model, this and that, that stuff. Like you know, like those kind of things. I literally like manually from this like T-pose like move the hand and then try to like, you know, shift the like loop to the point that it looks natural. I literally, like back in the days, I don't know how to use like rigging bone, so I literally moved everything manually. It took me a lot of time and effort to actually do it. And the hair, holy heck, the hair is actually really hard to make too. But again, it really hurts me a lot. In some sense. My pride, my everything. It's like, because like, I know the work I do is not that great. So he did not just accuse me of theft. He accused me of being a very shitty thief. I'm a very shitty thief that steals shitty art. Yeah, and then finally, like, my day of a class, he low-key do not announce my name and keep scolding a thief in the entire like studies. And then, you know what? I'm a streamer too. I stream my work, documenting it every single time when I do any artwork. So I show him my stream. He completely shut up. He just said, "Oh, alright." Didn't even say sorry. and he never clarified to Group A and Group B of students, which is everyone is like early stage student, either is their first or second semesters. Around that era of people, everyone look at me weird for the entire life, because they are like, after like I at the end of my semester time, some people like after they learn that I actually didn't steal art, they'd be like, "Oh, I always thought you were art stealer." Motherfucker. After they learn the situations, it's like it clarifies a little bit that there are still people think I stole art. I steal people's shit. Man, it's a really rough day for me. But yeah, like once you no matter what kind of good things you do, no matter how good you are, or no matter like what kind of good deeds you do, if you eat shit one, you will be known as a shit eater. And as for Bungie, they are known, I'm not even kidding, they are known to be stealing shit. And I'm not even kidding. This is not the first rodeo case. And then this is the most blatantly one. There are so many cases of like plagiarism in Bungie. I don't even know what happened in there. They keep saying like previous employee. I know that's like freelancer thing. Like they keep blaming everything on freelancers. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Who knows? But when 90% of your art is in there, it kind of implies that everyone knows. And everyone also follow the artist too.
Decal sheet. That's how Anti-Real's art got there, according to the company statement and what Joe said. Now, that decal sheet was then used in production according to them. It was not caught, but now the review process is being updated across Bungie to stop the problem from happening again. As for fixing the problem, steps in the last 24 hours, as of the stream, included reaching out to Anti-Real, auditing all of the unnamed artists' previous work, basically meaning that no new footage can be shown until that is done, then removing anything that is questionably sourced from any asset. He then went on to describe the hundreds of internal and external artists who have worked in this game over the last 5 years. He emphasized that external partners were not involved in this one, likely because of some early connections being drawn by the public. Cross then offered a personal public apology to Anti-Real to make this right. After all of that then, the stream moved on to dealing with the response to the alpha, and I'll get to that shortly, especially the stuff that is being said by Paul Tassie's sources, because they are quite worrying. But overall, what Cross said here essentially reflects the same position that Bungie took with their first statement, right? There's a little bit more detail here, but nothing major, nothing new, and I'd say that until this audit is complete, we likely won't have any more info on this. The reactions, obviously, were not great. Now, we weren't at Nintendo stream chat levels of spamming things, but audiences consistently left absolutely brutal messages, ones that the hosts were clearly reading. You could see it in their faces. Messages, of course, demanding the game is cancelled, and of course, the mimetic plagiarism will make you god riffings, Cross especially just, well, facing calls of, being fired. Lots of people saying Art Raiders, which is, of course, a little bit of a play on one of their major points of competition, a game called Arc Raiders that, funnily enough, even though it also moved from being PvE to PvP, actually has had very positive buzz recently. Anyway, all of this might have been made worse by the format of the stream itself. You see, Bungie had previously gotten a lot of fan sympathy out of just how low-tech their streams were, that it was just people talking to the camera. As the late Susan of YouTube would say, it was less polish, more texture. That's generally what people want. It's just that here it absolutely did hit different. It still is a very humanizing way of doing a presentation like this, but in this case, well, they had a far wider audience than they normally would. The situation is altogether much more serious. Expectations were higher. This was all made worse by tech issues. Audio desyncing was a real problem. Discord questions from the public were only fed towards Ziegler, who was clearly the only one.
Happens to all streamer. The power of scuff. A lot of people really do not understand the power of scuff that's happening. It's like, if you are sort of like work an event, you already know scuff things can happen. In stream, it happened even more. It's in a very controlled environment. It's still having like shit tons of stuff will happen. Like, I'm not even kidding about that.
who was like planned to be there originally. This then left Joe Cross basically on camera being relayed questions like why Anti-Real isn't being hired just to make use of the assets, and comments doing things like asking why they stole Anti-Real's style. So all of this is rough. It added to a deeply miserable environment, one where the most senior leadership in this game couldn't even show the game off. They couldn't really do anything in the way of show, don't tell, because it was just so lo-fi. And that's just the leadership. Because where things really get interesting is when we go and see what's happening in the rank and file. Paul Tassie's sources have been quick to describe how things are going inside the studio, and man, it is not a pretty picture. They suggest the internal explanation for the plagiarism is exactly the same as the public one, so no new real information on that, but more importantly, both Sony and Bungie Legal are now investigating the whole situation. And on the ground, staff are deeply worried here, and that's because plagiarism is only one part of the conversation. I think what's potentially more dangerous for them is all of this buzz about the plagiarism means that every little detail is going to be picked up on, more sources will talk, and that's why we now have to talk about Marathon as a video game. I'm going to quote from Paul's reporting. Everyone has the same concerns about what happens to Bungie.
I think some people call this Concord 2. I think it's worse.
As a studio if Marathon bombs, which is something they
Instead of called Concord 2, it's called Shitshow 2. This one.
Absolutely cannot afford. Sticking with the report, Tassie's sources say that they're not aware of any plans to delay Marathon past its September release date. That seems kind of insane if you ask me, and it's perhaps because changes were already in place before the plagiarism controversy began. So, as the month of
Nobody will play it. Plagiarism kill it. Because here's the thing, a lot of people already seen this game as a very generic, like, extraction shooters already. The only saving grace is the design language in there, you know? People say, like, it's a nice design, I love the color scheme, I love how, like, the art works, you know, like, the general vibe of, like, the game, like, displayed. Once that thing thrown out of the window, you're fucked. Unless you actually implement something, like, really interesting in the PvE side, like I say, have a dedicated PvE mode, while like have let the PvEP things still being there. Unless you did something in your own spin, the game is going to die. It is going to die. Guaranteed.
May started, Bungie had, quote, pulled the plug on their planned marketing in order to counter the narrative that had came up in response. Basically, the plagiarism controversy has just simply increased the need to delay things, and they've already delayed and canned some of their marketing. As such, a single public beta in August could now become a, quote, roadmap of public tests, which would likely open up the game long-term to global audiences rather than just the people in the US who have gotten to play it so far.
Unless you pay people to do the beta test, it's not possible. It's not possible for other people who are willingly to join in.
Now, if we're to assume that May is being written off to rebuild their marketing plan, that means that Bungie and Sony have about 3 months to audit and replace any offending art assets. Meanwhile, of course, they'd also have to relaunch the game's reputation and get it in front of audiences, because the initial reveal that happened this year did not go well. That means this is all shaping up to be quite disastrous, and they're doing all of this ahead of a September release date that is across all major platforms. Doing all of this stuff simultaneously, if you ask me, seems completely unfeasible. I mean, even if Marathon was universally hyped, that would still be an ambitious goal, like with your team locked in and motivated.
If I had a bunch of people from Bungie already, so I don't think they have the manpower to do all this.
But for Marathon right now, that feels honestly impossible to reach. But the most revealing information from Tassie's sources might actually be about the creation of Marathon, not the release of Marathon. And it might even explain why the gameplay critiques from the alpha aren't actually dealing with the most major complaints, which are things like proximity chat, PvE, solo modes, and loads of other things. Essentially, there's a very clear vision for this game, and it was set in stone a long time ago. Marathon was originally pitched by the good old boy higher-ups of Bungie leadership, and as far back as 5 years ago, devs were telling them that it would and wouldn't work, and often were ignored. Many have said previously that it needed to have some sort of PvE component. And I think that last line will really ring true for a lot of you watching this video. It's pretty much been the big thing people have been saying. It's nice to know that, at least internally in the studio, a lot of people seem to have agreed. Now, overall, this is a story we have heard many times before at many different studios. Some Sometimes a singular vision is about delivering you a Kojima-style experience, sometimes it's not, and in this story, we know that Marathon's former game director Christopher Barrett left Bungie in the middle of 2023 after more than 20 years at the company. Now this...
I say again, the dev is not idiot. They understand they can make a crack PvE game. They can't do a good PvP game. And even like the like the PvP game, they kind of like have a little bit like good vibe to it. Is like that the Forsaken one, like the PvE style, kind of like horde style, and then go there and disrupt people. Aside from that, like it's like a very cool way to like play it. And you look at that PvP game scene, they never really bother to completely finish it or like to improve it or do anything about it, because they really do not want to touch the PvP aspect, because the balancing stuff, this and that, and stuff is like horrendous when it comes to like PvP. Because they want to make PvE. PvE is power fantasy. PvP is reality, like strikes you. You are not very good at playing games. And there are a lot more people want to play the PvE side of the thing than the PvP side of things, and even they understand it. This is why they always want to like have like a much more like an in-depth PvE side of thing rather than PvP side of things. Then they want to make Marathon.
Came after a HR investigation that accused him of inappropriate behavior. He does maintain his innocence, and he sued Bungie for the payout that he was owed for his stocks. But there are certainly some things that he said that do, let's just say, not really look like professional speech. Now, his tenure alone likely would have placed him in that good old boy group that is being talked about by Paul Tassi and I suppose the sources within the company that he's been able to reach. And it would go a long way to explaining the game framework and direction that the team have been left to work on in these past 2 years, which of course is well beyond the game's initially planned launch. Yeah, Marathon is really late. Remember, this game was greenlit under very, very different financial circumstances. There's a popular belief, right, that Marathon is part of PlayStation's live service push. But the thing is, Bungie was acquired in 2022. Marathon was started in 2019, and 2019 is also when Bungie broke off their publishing arrangement with Activision for Destiny, and they were finally way more independent. Now, we know from Activision leadership that Bungie was consistently having to lean on Activision's support studios, High Moon and Vicarious Visions, to deliver expansions and content. Basically, it didn't make Activision enough money. Bungie's stuff was eating into their resources. Then, with Bungie out on their own, they presumably decided to invest in another revenue stream while they could afford it, and that of course would be Marathon. Now, this was before Destiny 2's commercial high point with the Witch Queen expansion. When Barrett's departure was reported, IGN also claimed that staff expected, quote, senior company leadership to leave in droves when the 2026 stock vestments clear from the PlayStation acquisition. And that's basically the thing. A lot of them, it seems, are just playing for time until they can escape with a shitload of money. Now, that's the same leadership who dismissed executive pay cuts by saying that Bungie weren't to, quote,
even Destiny 2 technically was on life support. I'm not even kidding about it, because they really do not want to keep going for Destiny 2 a long time ago. This is why Marathon exists. But due to circumstances like situational, it's a live service game. They have to keep on going. There are people complaining. They want to like, prove they're wrong. Those kind of things. Like, I think like ego actually like adds into this conversation a lot. The ego of the high ups.
Workers, you don't need morale to make a game, I guess. Bungie and Sony then put aside $1.3 billion for staff retention back in 2022, with 2/3 of that expected to be paid out within the first 2 years. That still, of course, does leave hundreds of millions of dollars to vest for an ever-dwindling number of staff. Now, we know that the rank and file of Bungie care about this game, and it seems reasonable to extend that grace to people like Ziegler and Cross as well, right, as the public faces of it. But I think the real question is, do leadership, the highest tier of leadership at Bungie, care about Marathon? Do they even care about the continued existence of Bungie outside of having to only meet their obligations towards PlayStation so they don't get fired, and so that in 2026 their options vest and they become extremely wealthy and, no longer, let's just say, tied to Bungie for their own financial success and security. Certainly, it doesn't feel like they care about the long haul. And remember, this situation has got so bad that PlayStation have taken leadership to task in recent years for overspending and missing deliveries. But not internally. Not like some PlayStation exec saying in an email, you guys are really dragging. No, they said this in a public earnings statement. So for the leadership of a business unit to be called out in the court,
Sony really regret buying all the studio. I think the only non-regret they have is actually getting Insomniac Studio. Aside from that, they really regret getting Bungie. I can say that. Bungie screwed them up so much. And I'm not even kidding about that. Because Concord 2 is a branch off of Bungie, technically. It's a bunch of ex-Bungie employee that left out, and then, because they still have connection with Sony, they talk to, Sony, and they have this elevated pitch to them, and then they'll be like, ooh, this is creative. And then, so, Concord fucked them up. Now, Destiny 2, I won't really say it did any damage to them. It's still enough to have a live support there. Marathon, soon to be going Shitshow. They hired them to do, live service, consultants. They aren't even great at that job! Yeah. So, what did Sony benefit from having them? Nothing. Seriously, literally nothing. There's nothing actually benefit from having them at all. Man, it's just...
quarterly report, talk, that is absolutely shocking. It is not a normal thing. So all of that's been going to shit. There have been rounds and rounds of layoffs, and what might shock you is those layoffs likely could have been way worse. I say that because the wider PlayStation group have actually been salvaging incubation projects done at Bungie and support teams that otherwise likely would have been laid off. Marathon's launch has been in the middle of all of this. It feels an awful lot like leadership protecting themselves and setting staff up to take the fall here, because realistically, as long as they're able to stay until their stuff vests, they will be just fine. And while I'm usually the type to give the benefit of the doubt, and that is something I'll extend to Ziegler
I say high up ego. Definitely high up ego.
and Joe Cross. I mean, it's obvious that Joe Cross hasn't just yanked all of Anti-Real's work. You just have to look at what Joe Cross himself has made as an artist, say 13 years ago. I'll extend the benefit of the doubt to those guys. But to the top leadership, to the people who are actually making the impactful calls here at Bungie, no longer can I give them the benefit of the doubt. It has been nothing but just fuck up after fuck up after fuck up. And even their wins.
One time, I can consider circumstantial oopsie. Second time, maybe you just bad at this. Third time, I don't believe you anymore.
Even the wins that team have been able to get under extremely challenging circumstances, well, those have been rewarded with
Every chance comes with dirt. This happens the fourth time.
It's a bad situation. I don't see this ending well. I think Marathon has absolutely got to be delayed. It just does not seem like they're going to be able to get the ball
No, I don't think it will be delayed. It will be cancelled.
rolling. And a lot of the point too is, it's not like the feedback from the alpha has been particularly stellar. It seems that even without the plagiarism stuff going on, this game would still...
Yeah, like I say again, the game is not that great in the first place. The only saving grace is the design. And now there's plagiarism things happen. They literally thrown everything out of the window. There were still people that like the game. There will definitely be Bungie glazers because they play Destiny. Like I say again, I do like the game, but the problem is Destiny is you can like the game, but also can criticize everything it does. And I do that too. I had my fun, but doesn't mean I will accept everything they do. In fact, I hate everything they do. I only have fun because I managed to meet a group of people in there, and I really enjoy my time with them. Just that. Well, either way, that'll be all. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, guys, stay healthy, stay safe. Until next time, stay tuned on the next stream. Bye-bye!